Ready? Okay. Good evening, everyone, to the February meeting of the Inland Wetlands Watercourse Commission meeting. If there's anybody here who has anything to ask or say to us that's not on the agenda, be happy to hear your questions or comments. If not, we'll proceed. Minutes, guys, go over the minutes. Look at them. Anything wrong with them? Deletions, additions, corrections? If not, can I have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept the minutes from January.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, tonight we're gonna open the public hearings. Application 22-11W. That's, I understand they're looking for a continuance.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's a memo in your package.
Mhm.
As you recall, at the last meeting, there were a number of concerns that were raised by several of the abutting property owners. And the applicant acknowledged to look in further detail, trying to resolve some of the concerns. We received an email from their land surveyor who was trying to schedule additional work to put that information together. They're requesting an extension for the March meeting on the 5th.
Like when you need a motion to,
Yes.
okay, I need a motion on application 22-11W to continue the public hearing for next month.
Make a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Next is for public hearing is application 23-01W. I can have a motion to open the public hearing.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who's here for the application for Weathersfield Road? Sorry.
My name is Andrew Stahoviak of the professional, and I'm here on behalf of Mr. Ella and Matt Kontorovich, who acting as 175 West Main Street. There's a lot 235 West Weathersfield Road.
I should have read it more. Sorry.
The Kontorovich bought this lot in May of last year. There's a single family, 3-bedroom house. Here's Weathersfield Road, and the house is a garage. 3-bedroom wood frame ranch style house, and it was built in 1952, and it's served by a well and septic system. The latest test on the well for their house showed bacterial contamination. I don't know if it was lack of use, but it's contaminated. And in order to use the house, the health code regulations require that the septic system be brought up to today's standards, or as much as possible to today's standards. There's an empty lot here. It's a wooded lot, and then the next house over, when they put their septic system in, they only were able to put in 60% of a septic system to handle their house, but it's acceptable. Otherwise, you're taking of the house or whatever. The rules were different in 52. Only a 500-gallon steel septic tank was required at that time. Now the code falls for almost 3 times that much, et cetera, et cetera. You know, the code is put up. So a slight little history. This is almost a 7-acre lot, the entire piece. The original homeowner, Mary Kulesha, subdivided this in the early 90s, 95. You see this drawing. This shows the approval of all commissions for the subdivision of this land, including 3 lots where the Kontorovich bought. So there's 3 lots that were shown. For some reason, and these, in order to make this work, they have to be served by water and sewer. So there's a water and sewer in Bridgestone Road, but the Weathersfield Road sewer never got put in, although some town maps show it as being there. For some reason, Larry decided not to hold on to these last lots for whatever reason. So the Konforoviches are faced with two options, basically. One option is to fix the well, put in a new septic system. The other option is to try to put in water and sewer, which is.
Is this possible? The map for everybody to see.
I don't know.
Can't see or hear anything.
I'm sorry. So the I just wanted to describe the lot conditions because it affects the wetlands and some of the things. I'll go very quickly through that. This is originally this is open fields, farm fields. When it was subdivided, there was a line of trees planted on this end of the thing in the 1960s. And what happened is that wetlands, your commission did not exist in 1952. And for 20 years thereafter, there was no wetlands in the state per se. So when the original homeowner, the Kuleshas, built the house, they were able to fill in and grade, whatever, do anything on the lot that they pleased, and it was legal. So they filled the area which we're going to be talking about because they put in a full basement, they excavated ground for that, and they had to put in a septic system, which supposedly is in some place between the garage and the house, the existing septic system. The septic tank is just in back of the east end of the house. So its steel tank has to be removed or filled in, pumped, removed, etc. So the soil conditions are such that there's a ridge of okay, let me back up. I saw another chart that I have here. Okay. So in order to proceed with the I'm going to go like this. This is a simple, the same lot. Here's the lot in question. Here's Brownstone, Weathersfield Road is here, and this is the big empty lot. What's shown is the topography, topo. They're 1 foot contours off the town GIS system. They're not super accurate, but they're good enough. So in order to fix, and here's the separating distance from the well to the existing well, you need 75 feet from the well. You can't put a septic system into this thing. So if you're going to repair the septic system for this lot, there's a line of I don't know if you see this bump. There's like a little ridge here. And the reason for that ridge is this rock underneath. The rock comes out of the surface here and here and on the side. So it's pretty much, it's rock. So with that rock running through here and the well separating distance, plus this side of the lot is very flat, the septic system here with repair would not work. You're forced to go to this side of the septic system. With the contours running this way, you would put in a septic system parallel to those, and this is the wetland in question. So when the Konforoviches asked Jackson Environmental to delineate the wetland, which is it starts here and then goes right through this lot and back and all the way back. It's a large wetland. And this area, it turned out it was filled in 12 to 18 inches of fill, probably in the 50s and 60s when it was legal to fill in. So this wetland that brings us here is technically only a wetland. It doesn't function as a wetland. And this wetland is on the fringe of a large wetland this way. So it's not, doesn't impede, it's not in the middle of anything, it's just on the fringe of as wetlands go. So to put in this leaching field, the leaching field would have to look something like that. It would be 150 feet or so long, and it would stretch almost from, in order to, the reason for that is the soils are very poor. There's hard pan and rock on the bottom, and there's about 2 feet of good soil that can soak water. So in order to put that field in, you have to be 4 feet above rock. If you got rocks sticking out over here, what are you going to do? Where are you going to put the field? So yeah, the bottom of the leaching field has to be 4 feet above the rock. It also has to be 18 inches above water, which is defined in this case by mottling, an area of mottling. So it's not right after the rain, but it's 2 weeks after the rain where the water settles as far as it runs off. So you're talking about large leaching field, and in order to protect that field, you would have to the upper area off the road, you would have to swale that, put a curtain drain in. The health department would require that so that it protects this wetland as it discharges to this lot and the wetland. Now, the septic systems, mine don't fail, but some do. I'm just kidding. So the partially treated sewage would be headed for the wetland and also the back lot. The other option is that the house here connects to a water and sewer the other way. So instead of sending 300 to 600 gallons towards the property and to the back, you would take that water and send it the other way through a water and sewer system. So the wetland would be better protected, would not receive partially treated sewage going that way, and the additional quantity of water, right? It would go the other way. So as far as the wetlands, that would be the case. So Jack Martin will talk briefly about the proposed subdivision and other questions.
Good evening. My name is Jack Gilmartin. I'm with JL Surveying located at 212 Brickyard Lane in town here. And we did the site plan for this property. We did the topo grading and basically the design for the 3 lots. And we've down here at this intersection, there's existing sanitary sewer and existing water. We've met with the water department and talked to them about running a sewer line and water line up the road. We don't have full approval because they can't give approval to do it until we get approval from planning, zoning. But we've talked to them, they're encouraging us to do it. They would suggest we would do that. So basically what we're looking to do is not have septic systems, to have a force main system, sewer system for all 3 houses. They would do away with the well and the need to dig in septic systems. We would remove the existing septic system. We would take a sewer line, come up, force main would come up just past this utility pole close to this corner down here, and all the utilities that are coming off of that are going up cobblestone. So we'd have to bypass that in a road, and then we're going to go into grass belt with the force main for these 3 houses, a 1-inch force main. And then we're going to also run same philosophy is come down the road past the pole with an 8-inch water line coming up. The only thing we're not showing on this map is showing it ending at, I do show a fire hydrant. That's one thing that they wanted is a fire hydrant at the end. So we're doing that. The existing house, will be remodeled, not coming down. 2 new houses that we're proposing they're going to be slabs on grade. They're going to be ranches. We're not looking to do a full basement. So we won't have taking a buy-in that way. We're designing Caltech chambers to take up the water for all 3 lots for the roof draining. And over here, this dark line, what we got is we got a French drain coming around, picking up the water and bringing it over to the wetlands. On this side of the property, there's a 30-foot conservation easement that doesn't allow us to go in to do anything other than cleaning, maintaining the drainage. The town has an offshoot of a pipe coming off now, and if that gets clogged up or anything, the property owner is allowed to go in and clean that out, so make sure it works. Other than that, we can't go into that area. We're not proposing to do anything. One thing, we have the houses, you see they're further up. And again, that's also to keep away from keep as much distance away from the wetlands as possible. We are in the upland review area, but with some grading, but we're not doing any building in that area. The natural contours of the grade, this lot grades off this way, and this lot grades off this way. That's basically the gist of what we're looking at to do. Any questions?
You said, go ahead, Mark. Where were you going to put the storm tech wells?
The Caltech, we got them right over here in the front, and over here with the old well in there, and then over in the front. The reason we got them in the front is Andy was talking about the grading and the conditions, soil conditions. One of the things we're doing with the houses, we're bringing them up so that we can put the chambers in the ground, so they can go in the ground. That's so we have them out front here to do that. And other than that, not a lot of mystery. This was again approved at one time, and we're not looking to build mansions on this lot or anything like that.
Jack, you said that was approved? That
Yeah.
subdivision was approved? It's still
It was originally-
legally approved?
Yeah, and in the original subdivision, there was no call out for wetlands back when it did it. Again, it's like these wetland. I don't want to. I sat on my town's wetland commission for 7 years, so I appreciate what the guys are doing here. So, and I'm not saying there's good wetlands, bad wetlands, that are like having a good kid, bad kid, but the bottom line is these wetlands were legally removed, and the idea that there's an upland review or anything like that it's really kind of a gray area because the wetlands are not there anymore. They're not. God put the soil down there. We didn't take the soil out or anything. That's what the soil scientists dug down and found, but they're not functional. We are proposing to put some red maples and some plants on there. Yeah, so we're putting other, Jim had suggested we throw some plants in there so it doesn't get used as a recreational area, kind of knock it off the lot.
So the delineation of the upland area is based off the old existing wetland
From way back.
from way back when. Yeah. And if it was to be redrawn from what actually exists as a wetland now.
Would be
Yeah, okay. And you mentioned you're doing something in that upland, just grading in that upland
Yeah,
review? You're not,
we're just doing it again because we're the grade of the houses. We're bringing them up. We have a little bit of grading, not a lot. Just
but the building itself is outside that area.
oh yeah,
Here's the wetland and here's the upland review area. So the building is not in the wetland at all. It's just in the upland review area. If you can call this a wetland. Technically.
Okay.
Jack, perhaps
Thank
you could point out the buildable area from a zoning aspect on that one parcel and where the home is actually going.
all right. So the yellow line, as he's got here, is what they call. We talked about this last time. The buildable square. In that, my definition of a buildable square is that I'll let the homeowner know what it potentially can be built on and doesn't have wetlands, doesn't have massive slope, and it's so that if they want to put a shed or something like that, it's feasible. That's the yellow line, which we is required by zoning. Those are, that's the billable square foot. The houses, as you see, we're bringing it up as far as we can because of the billable square. We could probably push it up another 5-6 feet that way. But
That was my question. What's the frontage?
Excuse me.
Yeah, hang
They're
on,
gonna
hang
let
on.
you-
Yeah, well,
back. Apologize. I like it. All right. So that's there's very little vegetation on the property. It's mostly fields, as you're seeing. In the back here, this map here, the property in the rear has put a drainage system for. They've got the 6-inch covers. There's 4 of them, and probably a 6-inch pipe down going out and an open end out towards the wetlands, picking up the water along here. And he's got about a 2-foot high berm with arborvitae all around the property over here. So he's got this pretty well buffered off and got a drainage system there.
So
What
Jack, we had spoken on that particular lot, if we call it lot 1, 2, and lot number 3. The commission in the past has had the authority to essentially designate the building, not the building square, but the footprint of the home is where it's shown on this plan is site specific. So when you look at something, you're saying, this is where the house can go. You know, they can't sell a lot off afterwards and somebody comes in, pushes the house right to the back of that buildable square where, you know, you have the authority to do that. And if someone proposed something other than that, you would have to come back to this point for a review.
With sometimes site specific, if you get it to, well, it's got to look like that house. It's got to be that frame, and that's not what I don't think Jim's looking at. His location.
right,
And
as long as the house is
we would
built in
very
that.
much agree with that as a condition of approval.
You know, we would say from the northerly boundary of the houses that's shown, nothing can go beyond that.
Right.
Everything would be
Right.
from the south of that point.
Jack, you said it's slab on grade is the 2 houses,
For the
right?
2 new houses.
Are you gonna bring any fill in for that, or is it just,
We're going to have to, probably bring in some fill. I don't think we're going to find enough on the site, but
Probably be less than feet separation, a couple feet to the sink, and then you have to blend it in the whole thing. So that fill compared to this fill, much less.
so how much are you gonna be raising it from street level, let's say? What's the,
grade-wise, right, so talking to a fellow back there about not having our glasses. So it's elevation 98 here, and we're garage floor at 98. So it's going to go down. We try to have the driveway. It's got to be 0.8 of a foot above gutter grade at the street line, and then it would be going backwards and sloping it off over here. We got a swale coming back here. Take the water off. So we're not, if you've been out there, the road is
Right.
high and then it dips off.
Yep.
So we're coming up a couple of feet. It's this is elevation 95, so we're coming up about 3 feet. with the
just
garage.
for the houses though?
Garage floor. Over here on this lot, this is 97 or 99, 2 feet.
Anybody else?
What's the front yard setback?
What do you mean?
The
Building line setback,
building setback, yeah,
it's 40 feet.
40, and how far back is the other?
These are 45. So I'm showing it at 45 foot. We got a 40-foot building line setback. We've got 5 feet. We can pull it forward. That's, I don't think we care. We want to say site specific, it'd be 42, 43 feet from the street
It's
setback.
always good to give yourself a little bit of play.
No, right.
Overhangs and stuff.
But the other house, when that's existing house, no, it's gonna stay exactly where it is. We're not gonna do anything.
There was some talk with the owner, of maybe putting I triggered these lots. I pushed them from the original approved 3 lots. I pushed this lot line over 10 feet so that they may want to put an addition on the side. So if they want to, it's feasible. But that's the only improvements I see going on in that. And it's a ranch, and I'm not 100%, I don't want to tell tales client, but it's usually a ranch that's got a 8-inch foundation. And to do 2 stories, it has to be 10-inch. So I don't know if you're allowed to go on an existing ranch foundation, 2nd story. So I don't see that going up. That would be a building code thing.
Anybody else on the commission? Anybody in the audience would like to ask either one of the 2 gentlemen questions? If you want to ask a question, state your name and your address and ask your question.
Sure. I'm David Lusick. I live in 106 Brownstone Road. It's the live this area. Are there springs in this area at all? Any springs? Right. Water bubbling up.
I just.
Should I give my presentation or should I wait?
I'll stop.
Okay. So I'm David Lusick. Like I said, I'm right behind 106 Brownstone Road, lot 16-5.
Now, where are you in relation on this map? Where would you be? Okay,
So we live adjacent to wetlands. It's flooding and water issues in this area. Present this to you guys to take a look at. I came back from vacation last week. I found my basement flooded. Okay, sump pump failed at 6 inches of water. It's gonna cost me $10,000 to fix the damage. The sump pump runs 9 months of the year, 6 to 9 months. Yeah, in the Kaliza house there, it also runs 6 to 9 months. I see it pumping out, right?
I've seen it in the dead of summer, pumping water across the driveway.
Correct.
That place is, it's like a pond.
okay, let's, you can,
I got plenty of pictures. So our basement is flooded during vacation. It's about $10,000 with that picture. This is a picture of the lot during a rainstorm. This is one.
This is your lot? or
No,
this
no,
is the
that's
proposed lot?
where they're gonna build the house.
whereabouts is this in relation to?
It's probably better. This up here? Sure.
In relation to it's looking, standing here, looking that way. There's a row of arborvitae at this
It's
property.
from the street right down, looking down up Weathersfield Road. Here's picture number 2. And when that overflows, it comes into my yard. So I have picture number 3 of my backyard. Right over in here. Where's the little swale with the pipes in?
Yeah,
So there's a drainage outlet that runs back.
That,
towards
that is something that I dug
Property.
in there. It does not work. It's 6-inch corrugated pipe. It's full of slit. It doesn't work. It
No, I'm
doesn't drain.
saying from
but-
Weathersfield Road, you're talking about the water coming down through the conservation easement?
I don't know where it comes from. I'm not an engineer. I think it comes down from the mountain over there. It comes down, it floods in here. That's what you're seeing there, but it floods Merritt's yard, Chris's yard. You know, their houses get water. They live in the next lots. I think they'll speak after me. But this is also a picture from 2 days ago of the ponding that's on the property where they want to build the house. So it's another picture I have for you guys.
Now, is this house, is that the house that's there now?
That's the house that's there now, correct?
Because it's looking from your backyard.
Yes. Yeah. The tree, they show it somewhere, I don't know. Yeah, here's the tree right here. So we got ponding on the wetlands, when the houses.
So is the ponding from the surface flow that can't get towards the conservation easement
I think
because
so,
of the grade?
yeah. I think so. That was from 2 days ago that I took it, it all froze, all the water.
Now, is there a berm around the back of your property that would prevent the flow from heading to the?
Well, obviously not doing it if I got 6 inches of water in my basement, my backyard is flooded. The storm's coming, it goes over that. So much water comes in there. You get the rain and stuff. It's not a good situation.
On this way, just, you talk about the berm, you know what it was there for? Nothing will grow back there. So it was placed there. We had trees, they died because it's so wet.
So wet.
The berm was put there with the arborvitae's up to be able to put something in the backyard and with that border up on our property.
Usually the grass doesn't get cut in the wetlands area until June or Memorial Day because it's so wet. The landscaper's equipment sinks in there. So does my lawnmower when I go in the back. I've had to pull it out of the mud and muck in June. So there's lots of water there. It's a serious issue. If you put houses there, you're gonna lose 25% of your greenland in that area.
And then the level is going to be up and push more water.
Yeah, and push more water.
And I also want to say, just to add to this, what the gentleman said, and what I don't understand is, when we purchased the lot, we built that house. When we purchased the lot, it specified where the wetlands were. So they were called wetlands when we bought our property. So I don't know why they're not called wetlands now, because it was when we bought that property.
Mhm.
That was wetlands. We can't touch a certain part of our property because of wetlands.
Well, it's still
Yeah,
technically
still-
designated as a wetland,
Well,
shown
they're
on
saying
that map.
it's not,
No,
and it is.
it's designated because of the state's criteria for determining a wetland. So there are still wetlands.
In that property, Jim, the one to the right of the lot,
Yep.
there's a little brook, a little stream that goes through there.
Right.
And the water comes down from the top and runs in there. I've seen it several times.
You live right down
I
the
live
street,
right
right?
down the street, so I've seen water, and probably the problem is that there's no curb on the road, so all the water from the road runs into that lot. So it just like,
Yeah.
I've never seen standing water, though. I gotta say, I've never seen a standing water, or maybe I didn't notice a standing water because I go by it and I don't look, but I know there is a stream there, a little stream that cuts across from the south side of the Weathersfield Road, comes down and runs into that little brook towards the back.
There's 4 or 5 storm drains that come in, they dump in that area. And originally there was willow trees all planted in there, but they're dying and falling down in that area. And there's no trench anymore, there's no nothing. It just runs, all that water. And it comes as far as, the existing house that's there and my house and my neighbor's houses that are farther away. They have water issues.
Can you put a curb there, Jim? I mean, Jack,
The street is curved. The street is curved.
over there?
But the storm drain is open to there.
Really?
The street is curved all the way down to Copper,
From the edge of that property all the way down?
all the way down the hill. It's curved.
Street is curved from about here all the way down to the property. And this is that pipe that you
Right,
mentioned,
right.
drains this whole field. And so actually the pipe brings water to this point, and at this point, the water runs, so it's all concentrated onto this lot.
What?
Lori, isn't there sorry, Lori, isn't there by your driveway there, like
The
a
storm drain.
storm
Yeah.
drain?
Should come out of my dirt.
Correct.
So Jack, just to confirm, there is curbing on the north side of the roadway from cobblestone directing
One of
the
the
gutter drain to those basins.
the only thing that I could see, because of the hill and basins that are out there, the system there's a swale over here that picks up water, comes across, and there's a short piece of pipe. And as much as this is a conservation easement, what happens, the water comes out of the pipe and just turns, and goes off. I've seen it running, it runs over this way. One of our things is putting that French drain in here, because the only thing I can see is that this water's coming down the hill on a bad storm, it's splashing over our driveway and coming through there. So that's one of the reasons we're talking about putting the drain around that, pick up the, whatever is coming off the road.
But it's coming from the wetlands. That's off their property.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of that water is
I
coming
mean,
from.
great, I mean, you're looking at the contours as well as I am, the contours. Go right from the lot.
All I can go by is my pictures and the evidence. So it isn't showing what you're showing.
Well, the drainage itself is coming from the road and the area across the street.
Correct.
It's not coming from the actual parcel itself that we're looking at.
Mhm.
It's additional stormwater runoff that's coming from up above and running through.
I was told there's springs in there and that's why you have water in my basement and Cleesa house. That's why.
Groundwater may be an issue in the area where we have groundwater in many different.
I have a map that's
Yeah,
maybe
do you
might
have that?
help. This map shows the watershed. This is the 3-lot subdivision, and this is Mr. Levchik's house. And this is the drainage area. So this part of the lot that affects things is around an acre. This drainage area is 27 acres. So we're talking 4% affecting whatever water's coming to your house. It's only 4%. So if we double the water up to took the lot away, you're still gonna have flooding on specific conditions. And I mean, I think both of you and Confervich is in the same boat in that the soil conditions are such that the top 2 feet are fluffed up. They're and it's hard padded 2 feet. Once that soaks up out of any kind of steady rain, then the only water flow is right over the top. So there's no groundwater coming from this, basically this lot. Groundwater flows on the order of a foot a day. That's fast. When you're talking storm, you're talking 2 feet a second, and then a foot a day. So once that ground gets soaked for any reason, the water that you're talking about is all this other water that would be hitting the line. So the impact of what you do in this one little corner, less than a quarter of an acre, whatever, it doesn't affect the overall situation.
Andy, can you point out the top of the ridge in that watershed?
This is the top of the ridge is this thing here.
And
These
the
dark
water
lines, the
flows-
contour lines are so close together that it's sort of this smudge line on the top.
And the water flows perpendicular.
Yeah, so the water generally this way, and then it also, the general flows this way, but it comes off the ridge there and then comes down. So there might be little things that people have regraded or whatever, but generally speaking, this is what the flow is.
Well, obviously it's not flowing because I'm getting the water in my basement.
So the Conferviches have a sump pump in their basement, and you have a sump pump in your basement. And the reason you can't drain it by gravity is that the basements are, if you try to go by gravity, you couldn't daylight it. The hill isn't strong enough. It's too flat a lot. So both are into pumping. So if you build a house or you have a house next to a wetland or a wet area, you rely on that sump pump completely. If that sump pump fails, you have the damage, which it's terrible that the basement flooded. So you have to rely on that sump pump if you want to use the basement.
And you have to understand, there's 2 different types of water that affect folks, surface water and groundwater. And they're not connected.
But if I
So
take away-
during a heavy storm, the surface flow is what sounds like contributes to the concerns that you.
So if I take away 20% of my, 25% of my green space on that land, my problem's gonna get worse, right? You got a driveway and a house, that's 25% of the green space that's on that property. You're gonna raise it up. Where's that water gonna go?
The applicant is taking steps to control and restrict the flow of that surface water.
But it's gotta go somewhere, correct? Am I right or am I wrong?
Still it's still the same amount of surface water that's there today.
Yeah, but it would go into the
No.
ground
Yeah.
instead of it's on the house. So,
And maybe make a point. The house that would be proposed would be sort of in this area. So you see the septic system in the house kind of are in about the same position. So I know Mr. Lefchick, and I would be doing the same. In order to protect the lot, he put a berm and put the arborvitae's in, and then he put this drain. So surface water coming this way off this drainage easement hits that, it goes in there. So he's basically done measures to protect his lot. So-
drain does not work. It is a useless drain. It does not work. So please don't say it.
The proposal is to do a similar thing, and I think it would benefit the Lefchicks, because a berm and curtain drain, what happens is there's this line of, as Lefchick mentioned, the willow trees. They've fallen down and they act as a dam right along the property. The trees are huge trees. They're planted in '60s. So they're all laying there. So the water goes, like Mr. Russo said, it comes up into the stream to this side. But when that is over, when there's too much water, it then goes to the other side. So the drainage is actually acting as a dam. So the water normally runs this way, but then it forces, it goes this way. So I think one of the key areas I think would help all these neighbors would be to make sure that that water is redirected. And this proposal would be working in that area, and we're cognizant of that area. I mean, I know I talked to Mr. Electric, he was very helpful when I first came out there. He talked to me about the rocks, the water, and all the problems he's been having. And the only thing I can see is that, there's two options. There's the big septic system, which is very similar, or you can help, that would help, both neighbors.
Question on that that's not gonna be there though, correct?
Right. Well,
That would be a sewer.
Yeah,
sewer
yeah,
water,
do it.
so that's-
It's just if you.
Do you agree that 6-inch drain along the arborvitae's is functioning or not?
It is not functional.
I'm asking the other gentleman.
Well, you can say both. It is functioning as a 6-inch drain would, but it's not enough to overcome a storm. I know that in designing storm drainage for towns, they basically say, what kind of storm do you want to handle? Highways have 50-year storms, the drainage every 50 years. Towns have drainage that 10-year storm or 5-year storm, depending what it is. So you could say, well, that drain handles a 2-year storm, but it won't handle 15-year storm. So it's a question of semantics or however you want to do it. So, but the drain itself is small. However, there is a berm. So that water that you see will change until this wetland area, it's not that. There is a channel that pushes the water that way. So the water comes out and then it shoots away. This part of Mr. Lefchick's lot drains this way towards that wetland. This is the high spot, so it drains this way. So the water then turns and goes that way. So it doesn't go through the entire part of this lot. It's just this corner, which is a wetland. If you have a wetland, you get the good and the bad. You have nice green stuff and you get water.
So where does that drain run from right now?
Which one?
The one in the back, that's it.
This one?
No, at the lot. I know,
Along the
property line.
arborvitae.
It just,
By the arborvitae.
Oh, it's right here.
it starts about the corner of the
Yeah.
lot here. and
Is that when it just stops over there?
Just
Yeah.
open it.
Open-ended. There's a little pipe here. I think it's a 15-inch RCP pipe that somebody used in order to access the wetland. So they put a little pipe. So there's a little pipe there. Maybe that's kind of helps plug high flows. There's the 15-inch you begin up. So whatever. And then I think there's a pipe. It seems that the only way for that stream to go through here is that the owners here use this like a dirt road, and there's a pipe that carries that through. So any of these pipes, if there is a big enough storm, will get over, flood it over.
So if you put a bigger storm pipe at the back of those arborvitae's, would that help out?
That
Well,
might
this
help.
is-
That might help, yes. Or take it out and just open channel it.
Go ahead. Again, you've been waiting for it. Go ahead.
Just a quick question, not being able to see all the contours right from here, but when we talk about the berm, Do you think that the berm restricted the natural flow that went through that area?
Yes, it did. It diverted the water from this part of the lot, or some of the water. The groundwater is very little. It's just the surface water, so it diverted the water from here. In fact, the drain is so close to the lot, you could argue where that drain is, you know.
Who put that berm up?
Mr. Lefchick.
I was there when I bought the house.
It was existing when you purchased the house?
The arborvitae's were put in 2004, the first row. They were there, they weren't there in 2004, so they were put in after 2004, and you owned the property 96. So whoever put the arborvitae in, put the berm in.
Is that when the drain went in?
I don't know when the drain went in.
Correct. Yes, it did.
It did,
It was flooding before that. so.
but the drain is not on your property, it's on this property. Is that correct?
It's close. It's not a borderline, right?
It's on our property.
And is there something that would function better there than what's there now?
Well,
Like you
I
say,
think-
that thing gets over, it can't handle the capacity.
I mean, this is so flat that if you put a lake in here, it's gonna flood everybody around. However, if you can drain off enough water by putting the fill around this house here, you're helping to divert, instead of sending the water this way into the drain, you're helping to divert the water up ahead and into the wetland. So I think it would be very helpful to you in order to get that water to the side and into this channel that is sort of, it kind of tends to meander, but there is a channel there.
There's no channel.
Well,
It's flat area.
I took some
That water-
pictures the other day, Friday, 2 days ago.
Yep.
The ground is frozen, so any rain right now, it just shoots right off the surface. And you could see the channel. It's not a very big channel, you're right. But you can see the ice, you can see the ice river coming down through the wetland. And I took a photograph if you want.
Do you, Andy, do you think, and Jack, I'm gonna throw this out to you folks. Do you think additional maintenance within that conservation area? Yes, it's a conservation area, but it's there to let the water drain through to the north.
One of the
May
things
be helpful.
that I've
Yes, very definitely.
with the owner. So he said, can I go in and clean that out? I said, you can clean it out, you can't rate it, you can't do any improvement, but you can clean it up, make the water work better. He intends to, he told me he intended to do that.
More of a preventive maintenance thing.
Right.
Situation.
You're allowed to take that out. And read the easement. Letters of the conservation easement, it says to maintain, the only thing you're allowed to do is maintain the drain.
And if there's deadfalls in the way, that type of thing, yes. Do you think that's something we should take a look at?
To clean it out? Yeah, I mean, you guys want to do it with them. No, and you're only allowed to go to 70 feet.
That conservation easement, is it on that lot or is it on the other property?
It's on our lot.
It's on your lot.
Originally, there was when the original subdivision was a 20-foot drainage easement. But then when a second part of somewhere in the subdivision, the 20-foot drainage easement was abandoned and it was turned into a conservation 30-foot conservation.
Is it a private conservation?
To the town.
We have.
This map shows it, there's the lines through here and actually shows the conservation easement into the.
So it goes on
lose
both
it,
parcels.
Both parcels. Right, goes right through these little lines that,
So I guess we could research the conservation easement, see just what the specific language was in terms of maintenance.
And who owns the property to the right in this? Like, yeah, that, who?
it's a factory, it's a
Eversource.
Eversource.
Okay.
No, I think it's the fact that using EIS brake parts with the partnership and all that.
Oh, okay.
This lot, just so that, this is the lot in question, that little dark area is what the so-called wetland. So this is the part of the wetland here. This is the factory that owns this entire, and they probably, it'll stay probably green because there's wetlands there. So as far as neighbors, whatever.
Go ahead.
Can I use one of your maps, please?
Sure.
State your name and your address,
Sure
please.
thing. Chris Korzynski, 98. This is the map. Jack, correct? Yep. Your name, all right. So a couple of things, maybe I didn't catch on or understand, but you said that there was no wetlands. Clearly, we're obviously saying there is. Is that correct?
Well, all right, there's no wetlands in Manhattan, there's no wetlands in Boston.
I'm talking here.
But I'm telling you that there was wetlands when God created the earth. These wetlands were legally removed. They weren't done sinfully or.
What are they classified as right now?
They're, I don't know.
It's a yes or no answer. Are they wetlands?
We've had a
Yes or no?
soil scientist done a report on it, said they're non-functional, acting as a wetland.
Okay. And second thing is, you said that you've surveyed the entire property and you did not see any standing water, correct? Okay, and how long ago did you do that?
This past summer.
Okay, very good. Did you do it recently?
No. This past
Okay,
summer.
then I'd like for you to explain this. 7¼ inches of water, okay? So I don't understand how there's no water when you said that you clearly surveyed the land and you said there's no water.
When I surveyed the land, there was no water on
Okay,
it, right?
can you identify that that's water? And can you see just based on where the property is, that there is water on that property that you are representing at this time?
It appears to be.
Appears to be, it's a yes or no answer.
Yes, Counselor. Yes,
Okay, thank you. 7¼ inches.
Mr. Chairman, water can obviously pond in a low-lying area, parcel doesn't necessarily.
I mean,
When you look at the grading across the
So
parcel.
so the concern that I have with this is that area where all of that is exactly going to be right here, right?
It
so-
exists today, correct?
I'm sorry?
It exists today.
No, it's down, it's not as bad as that, it's
But
still
the
there. but it's-
grading
it's-
does not, the grading on that parcel has not changed.
No, no, it
years.
hasn't, but here's the concern that I have. If the gentleman's saying that he's gonna raise the soil levels 3 to 5 feet,
He's speaking
3
in the
feet.
front
in the
portion
front,
of
in
the
the front, in
property.
the front of the
If
property.
you look at the grading, the proposed
Correct.
grading plan on the parcel, and Jack, perhaps you want to point that out. They're looking at regrading the area from the homes to the street, nothing in the rear. And that will stay the same as it's
so
always
that's
been.
right. The only thing that we have concern with is that it's literally on the corner and the border of myself and Mr. Luca's neighbor.
Would you like them to regrade it for you?
So
No, not
98.
Your house is this house
My
here,
house is right here.
and it's in the
We're
other
not doing
drainage
anything.
area. It's
We're
on the
not
other
doing
side.
anything.
I think it doesn't, your lot is basically not affected with the surface drainage, because the drainage from this part is what does it. This part doesn't.
Andy, perhaps you can explain on the proposed site plan, the difference between existing grades and proposed changing grades and where grading.
Yeah, I
will
think
not-
that's gonna be really helpful
where
because
grading will not be changed. So whatever condition is there today will exist in the future.
No.
Oh, you're back. Okay, I see. All right. So, the other one that I wanted to. What we're saying is that if this is the house and this is the upland review, we don't do anything over here. We don't touch the wetland.
I don't care about that. That all of that is happening right here.
What?
Where the picture that I was showing everybody. is
I haven't seen
happening
it. It's completely in a different drainage area.
And you're not
Yes.
proposing to change the
We're not
grade.
proposing. There, right, so if there isn't any drainage, it would be around, any fill would be around the house. There's no need to fill that in.
Right, but when you're gonna raise the soil levels, if it's gonna be sloping down, where's the water gonna go?
the water goes down into your yard
Correct.
no matter what.
If it does today.
Go into the look.
Here it is. This, by putting a house in here, it doesn't change the amount of water going back. The amount of water is just the time of when the water comes in. If it hits the roof and goes down the drain, etc., you may be 5 minutes faster if it's going on the grass. But the amount of water on that lot doesn't change. You get everything here. And same thing with this drainage area. The drainage area for your house is huge this way. So this small whatever has very little impact of what you're getting.
Very little impact.
And the wet conditions that you've seen on these pictures, which dramatically show you how wet it is, we haven't done a thing. That's how it is.
Question, what is the elevation at that property line? So, right there, yeah.
90, 91, 92, 93, 93, 94. It's 94 here, 94 here. So around 94 feet.
And come halfway back
Yeah.
into the parcel.
94.
Come
This
towards the
is
street.
95 is here.
So it drained 95
This is
drains.
2
to
feet.
92.
It's less than 3% slope. It's pretty flat. In fact, the reason for the large septic system, this is 3%, and it's much steeper than here.
So is
So
that
the-
water from the other property sloped down? Right,
So the water goes this way, and you can see the contours going this way. So this is, the whole area drains that way with some minor things, and then it turns at the Sabiki River. It then swings over to go into Connecticut.
I think that, like, I have no problem with the people trying to build a home. I really don't. Like, that doesn't bother me or concern me. The only thing that I have is, like I said, and you're making it, you're minimizing the fact that, like, what I've showed, if you have 7¼ inches of water and it's spilling over and making literally an absolute, like, mud pit, you know, in the backyard of myself and my neighbors, that's the only issue. If that gets remedied, I don't care. They can build all they want. You know what I mean? That doesn't bother me, but.
I mean, that's the existing condition as it exists
Sits
today.
right now.
Their obligation is to make your lot perfect.
Well, I'm not saying that there are obligations to make the lot perfect. I'm just saying, is there a way? It's because here's the issue I have. If they're gonna raise it 3 feet, right? You're seeing the grade is gonna start going more down. Right? That's the only issue that I have with that, right? So if it was going in the opposite direction, we'd have less flow. But if you're sloping going more in, that's where the concern comes in, because then it's going to be overflowing water going into both myself and my neighbor's yard.
What would happen is that because of the fill, the water coming this way would slow down, and the water down here would speed up a little, but the amount of water is the same. So in half an hour or 15-minute storm, you're gonna get the same amount of water.
Excuse me, just one, the picture you took was from standing over here.
Yes, sir.
You have a fence and everybody's, do you have a berm behind that fence? or-
No berm. Yep, so we just have a fence that goes along right here.
Yeah.
So as you see here, so this is like a built up, what looks like a hill or a berm or something that goes along this way.
It's a rock.
A rock ledge. Everything else is just all flat. So it's all flat.
And that's an existing condition.
Correct.
Jack, I asked before, what's the height at the road?
The road grades.
Was it 98?
This gutter grade here is 100.
Okay.
100.4 right here, and
What's,
back here, the back grading right here is 95. So it's about a 5-foot pitch.
Yeah.
This way.
And talk again about the roof drains. They're going,
Yeah, see,
please, let's,
the when we this pluses and minuses everything in life, but when what we're looking to do is we're putting in when we're filling in, you know, as the gentleman talked about, we're bringing up the ground. That is also the benefit of that is, as Andy said, we're now bringing soil into the site, so there's going to be the penetration could be greater. Where right now, if you're what he's describing is we're hitting rock in such a short distance. Now there's going to be more soil for the ground or the stormwater to go into. But our
our chambers are designed to go, what happens is in a storm, and the town requires post-development, zero increase in post-development drainage system. So that means that in a 100-year storm, you can't have water going off the property faster than it's doing right now. And that's what the chambers are done, are to hold the water and then do a slow release. And that's what the tension basins and every job you ever see, where you see a development, you see a pond also in front of it. Those ponds are not there to hold it forever, it's to release it slowly. And our drainage chambers are to do that. That's the intent of these things, is to hold the water for any of the increased impervious area that we're putting on the lot, and holding that back, and then have it release slowly. And then with the additional soil, obviously groundwater is going to be able to penetrate deeper into the land. Now, we have no intention of grading anything back here. In this, I think that's about where the corner that you took the picture. Correct. Right there. We haven't got any intention to do that. You hit me blindside. I honestly, sir, I've never seen water standing. I wore these shoes, not these things, but I was wearing sneakers when I did this property.
Yeah, if you live in the 20 years, you'll be safe.
Yeah, but so, and I don't argue, I don't doubt it. I mean, obviously pictures for 1,000 words. So, but the thing that I noticed, particularly over on this side, is yes, this is all needs to be cleaned out, and because of the slope of this road coming down, I don't think the drainage in a major storm, the storm sewer doesn't handle it well enough, and that's why we're trying to put this French drain in here to pick up the water from going off to the lot this way, and then take it and push it over into the wetlands area.
So the French drain would go in front of the proposed property site?
Pardon me?
It would go in proposed south? It would go in front of it?
Over in this one here, yeah, this dark line, that's a drain over here. I don't see where, because of the grade of this house, like you said, it's a hump here. I didn't see where stormwater or road water is coming into this part of the property. I don't see where it's doing that.
With the curbing itself, the curbing is directing it
Yeah.
down towards the catch basins in the vicinity of the conservation.
Continues to go down the road.
And all your leaders, your gutters are all gonna be put into that.
So that conservation easement, its purpose is to drain water to the wetland.
Correct, to protect.
And do we know that if it was properly maintained, it would do that? Like grade still exists, that it would get the water?
Just looking at the contours in general, there
Yeah.
appears to be sufficient made to drain the water from the street and eventually get it down to the north, into that area. I'm sure it's been an area that hasn't been maintained
Yeah.
for 50 years, so it doesn't surprise me that, it's not flowing the way that it should.
There's trees on the left side of that property, also on the west side, that probably could be cleaned out. I don't know.
And that's not the town's responsibility, right? They only maintain a certain part of that
Yeah,
easement.
just somebody feed it.
So it'd be the owners of the property would have to.
So, Mr. Chairman, at this point, unless there's, other.
Yeah, any other questions from,
Saying potentially going to put something in there that might help us, it might make a difference, but you're going to divert water into that area. And when it goes through there, we live there, we know what happens. So it comes out, even if you divert it right in the front there, that's more water diverted in there and it ends up on our property. So it does impact that the flow is going to be more into our property. And if you wait till I finish maybe? And you're gonna get the elevation, the driveway and the house up. So depending on the water comes in, it diverts around it, okay? Now it's more water going back there. It sits a little flat right now. We understand that we've had water. We have to accept that. Things have happened in our home. But you're talking about more water is being pushed there. You're not really telling me anything differently as to, even if they do that, it's gonna push it into the woods. it's gonna go through there and it comes back out on our property.
That's all wetlands, correct?
It's not all wetlands, it comes into our yard, not, it's
Small
past the wetland. Some of what you saw, that's our backyard, that's not wetlands. So it pushes it back there. So who's gonna clean it and how do we know they ever do it?
So the water from to this point is gonna head that way anyways. So if you move it this way, you kind of make it go longer. So
It's gonna push more on us.
it's not more, it's
It's
just
gonna be more. It's coming this way.
the water that you see is either coming straight this way or it's gonna go like that. So you see it, but it doesn't go straight, so it's actually taking a longer path. You've done that with the berm that you've put along here. So you divert the water from your yard and you push it into
It's like
wetland.
a city.
What this-
Flooding in a city.
What this person is trying to do is the same thing you did.
But just like a city, I'm playing, because it's concrete jungle, there's no green area, nothing is ours, you're gonna lose 30%.
I'd like to just say a couple things.
Say,
Lori Budney, 242 Weathersfield Road. Okay, so the other illustration you showed is the mountain where all the water is coming from. Okay, can you go to that? Because I've grown up on that property and I live there now. And the vegetation that used to absorb a lot of that, it used to be a jungle. Susie and I used to climb up there and it was dense and it would, drink in the water. Now the trees are falling down dead. Almost everything on the mountain is just plain old rock. So when it rains, all this just floods and it comes right across. Here's my house. It comes all around here. This past spring, the spring before, when we had the 4 inches of rain in one day, in my whole life, I never had, my dad built the house and we had a sump pump cut out in the basement, an area for it, but we never needed one. And I went down there to find my basement was flooded with 4 inches of water. And I immediately had a sump pump put into that spot. And occasionally I still have to use it because I see that it just comes down, it pools in my backyard, then it hits a certain point and then it just floods. And during that spring of the 4-inch rainstorm that we had, and within 24 hours, there was, I was in my house and I'm looking at people going very slowly and I'm wondering, what are they looking at? Is there a deer in my yard or something? And it was because this was it was a lake or a pond down on my side of the road and into the road and all across here. And the storm drains, I went and I cleaned them. I had boots on and I cleaned, but they still didn't do anything. The storm drain over here, down here, I cleaned. And, but it's massive. The water's massive. And I know the representatives that the new homeowner has here today are speaking with their professional opinion, but I know who's paying them. So if we got together as unbiased neighbors that are just concerned, maybe we could find our own experts that would say, yeah, this plan could be seriously detrimental to you. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but the value of your property. And I plan on living there for a while. I'm not going anywhere. So I care about my neighbors. I didn't go out and reach out to anybody here and say, let's go to this meeting. I didn't speak with anyone except my neighbor Susie and I, because she's concerned what a sewer and water lines are going to do to the front of her. How old is your house, Susie? Yeah, and she's got huge trees in the front, and if they put in a septic and water lines, are they going to cut the roots on those huge trees that are in the front of her house, and will they fall on her house? Because it'll, everything has repercussions. So
Lori, where is her house?
oh, she is right, wait a minute, she's right here.
So there's no disturbance whatsoever in front of
No.
her house.
No, we're talking about sewer lines and water lines being run up Weathersfield Road.
Yeah, but they're being run from the, Jack, perhaps you can.
Excuse me. The existing sewer and water lines are right here.
But
So
what
we're-
about this?
That's all
here?
built. That's all done.
Oh, so this would not, this
No,
would come from
we're going, I'm
this
sorry.
area.
We're gonna go from, there's a stub coming out of this manhole, sewer manhole, about 30 feet. We're gonna
Okay.
come on the road and then go into our property down this way.
Okay. I
We're
understand.
not.
So there's
we're
no
not disturbing
disturbance
anything else.
whatsoever.
That's good.
I'm saying
Down
before.
8 or 10 feet. This won't be a gravity sewer, it'll be a pump sewer, which will be put at a 4-foot depth. So, and the road is actually on fill, Weathersfield Road is in fill. So by running it next to it, you're not down deep into.
No,
8
that,
feet.
that
You're not
puts her
in
mind at
gravity.
ease, puts her mind at ease. But I'm concerned about my neighbors and the flooding that they might encounter. And it's one thing if you are speaking from prospective homeowner that's maybe buying one of these, but if you're a person that lives there, spent the last 25 years, and raised your kids there, and you start trembling when you think of my house flooding continuously. Now, my cousin who owned this land, it was actually my aunt and uncle that owned this land that you're talking about. And it was continuous. Their basement was constantly flooded, the water, summer, winter, and I would laugh because I would go down there and visit and see their dog and stuff. And the sump pump is running across the driveway in August. It's, the rest of my golf course, everything is bone dry. So.
Look, Lori, just a quick question, and I'm not here to set the record straight. Over the past 10 or 15 years, I know one of your relatives was before this board for clearing land that should have been cleared along the mountainside, correct? There was an uncle, I think, that came before the board. There were concerns, they were clearing property. There was a restoration plan that the commission requested. And you're talking about the increase in runoff coming off the mountain. And typically, if someone clears a mountainside, there's going to be an increase in runoff that runs downstream.
Jim, wasn't that by the power lines?
So by the power lines,
Yeah,
yeah.
the stream that goes down by the power lines.
I don't know all the land in back of me, and that's all of this, and it goes over to here.
No, it goes up, no, go up through the blue, all up along the blue finger
Yeah.
to the top of the page.
Go here,
Yes.
and what about that?
The grade falls off the Beckley Road.
No,
Different
it
kind
comes
of-
this way.
What's your name?
It comes
Eversource,
ridge.
Eversource
comes
cleared
this way.
all these trees. They chopped everything on the mountain, everything, everywhere. So anything that my brother did on his property was at the base of the mountain in his backyard. He doesn't go up on the mountain. Yeah. If I think about it, but I really, I don't understand putting two houses on that little lot and moving them so close to the road. I think it's gonna cheapen the whole neighborhood. I think it's gonna look like shit.
Well,
That's my opinion.
that's not concern of this commission. We gotta see if it's environmentally.
Just talking
Peter.
what-
Go ahead, Michael.
What's the frontage, what's the frontage on these two houses?
I think it's,
The complete lot is 405 feet.
One's
And each lot is
123,
around
115,
125.
125.
Meets
60 feet?
it meets the zoning requirements.
Michael, it's 123, 125, and 159.
I'm asking about Warner's house, which is 125. He wasn't allowed to put a porch on the front of that because his house is too close to the road. And I'm just curious, look-wise, like Lori just said, these houses are right on the street. Aesthetic-wise.
Yeah, and that's not a purview with this commission. That's something.
Yeah, that's, we have no control over that, Michael. That you have to go to zoning about that.
Thank you.
Hi, Susan Johnson, 155 Weathersfield Road. Just looking back, I grew up in the neighborhood. And it's always been a very wet area. Glass, jugs, it's a very wet situation. It's never gonna clear up because it's just the water is there, comes off the mountain. It's a natural stream. It either hits the bottom of Lori's property and goes down to the other side and through the brook, or it's gonna come this way through the lot. That's it. Unless you build a river and, you know, on that CLMP property and have all the water drain that way. It is wet.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Ella, the owner of 235 Weathersfield Road. We just heard Mrs. Susan that she said that the water is coming through the mountain. So this is not our property. We have no control over this. So this means that the water will be coming from the mountain. And since we have only 3 drainage in front of our house and Mrs. Badney's house, the water will be coming through our property and going to another property. So all of us, we have to work together to present that you won't have water in the basement, we won't have water in the basement, and other neighbors won't have water on the ground. So I think that what we are doing, I'm sure you see that how nice it's outside already. We are spending money to that the neighborhood actually will look really nice. We bought the property, was in condition, wherever was in condition. And now we are trying to finish our work so we can be there. We would like to be your neighbor. But now looks that you don't want it, that we will do what we are trying to do to preserve what everybody spent money. Please. Okay. Sorry, thank you.
That's Ella, you wanted to tell us, you wanted to make our neighbor too nice, yes? But you believe in the with this house, what you right now, or no?
Maybe yes, maybe I
Okay,
don't
I'm
know.
asking, okay, if you, okay, go ahead.
Isn't it true that it's owned by an LLC?
Yes, we own one, yes,
And
exactly.
the
I own the
address-
restaurant, I own the restaurant in New Britain. Okay, and we own 175 West Main Street. I'm sure you checked already on us. So we own few buildings and we kept those buildings for a long time. And the reason why we bought in 175, because our accountant said that will be better, and it's not better. We should buy this property as a comparable family, okay?
But is it true you live in Burlington? in a
Yes,
large
it's
house
true.
in Burlington?
Yes,
Mr.
exactly.
Chairman,
Yeah, yeah, hey,
I
hey, hey, hello, please stop.
This is not germane to the-
Yeah, yeah. You know,
And we have problem in Burlington, same like we have here.
excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm concerned my water issue.
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest at this point, unless there's anything new to be heard, okay, from the public here this evening, that the commission continue the public hearing to the next meeting. I can work with the applicant. We can look at the conservation area if the commission so desires to see what may be done to help improve the general flow through that area. And I'm just putting that out there. If you'd like to close the hearing, you can certainly do that, but there may be some questions.
and also to Ms. Budney, you said, if you want to get you're more than welcome to get your own engineers and soil scientists. That's up to you guys. If you got something you want to present, I think we're willing to keep the hearing open for next month.
Jim, the other question I would have is if that gentleman, I forgot your name.
It's David.
David, if he gives you permission to go on his property to look on the back of there, I know that we can't do that,
Oh, sure.
you know?
You're welcome. Any of you are welcome anytime to come up.
This way we could see what's going on that property and even in the back corner of your house.
Yeah, I think, is anybody else any other questions from the audience? Well, that's not for us. That's up to you guys. But our next meeting is,
I believe it's March. It's the first Tuesday in March. Get a hearing in March.
yeah. And again, that's up to you guys on the commission. If you guys want to continue it, we can do that.
We should continue.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yep.
If there's no other comments or questions, I'd like to have a motion to continue public hearing on 2301W.
And make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll see you guys and everyone else next month. Oh, yeah, here's.
You want to leave those to the record or?
Mike made the motion, I second.
That's up to you.
If you do, you can give them to Lisa.
I'll leave some that are, yep, I'll do that.
Yeah.
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 I was on your radio today, I had to go, do the job done in Hampton. I was out 66. Is that your new place out there?
Yeah.
How'd you get that done?
What do you mean?
Well, remember we were originally.
Lots of money.
Yeah, no, originally we were talking about the.
The wetland was in back, they delineated the wetland. So we were right at the corner of the wetland.
Yeah.
So we're down towards the road.
Okay.
But there's one spot, if you come in the driveway at all? or no?
No, I just go by.
If you're coming down 66 heading west, we have a curb cut on 66 going down. There's probably about 30 feet that there's no wetlands. It's a little wetland. It's a useless wetland, they call it. That's what George said. It's a useless wetland. Everybody.
Trying. You on the reunion?
Oh, I'm on the committee.
Oh, you are?
5 minutes.
It's gonna be fun.
I hope so.
It's gonna be fun.
I'll see you there.
Yeah, people are renting rooms there.
Oh, really?
What year?
50th. Wanted to tell Jack his fly was open.
Yeah, I know.
He'll figure it out. Yeah. When he gets cold.
Jim, you know that Richard Snurst, is it?
Good.
Yeah, he goes, we're talking. That's a useless wetland. But you can't tell. Does it do anything? So it's not functioning.
Oh, we have somebody eagerly waiting, it looks like. All right, then a regular meeting, application 21-03 proposed by the town of Berlin to construct drainage improvements within a regulated area in conjunction with the reconstruction of personal soccer field on lots 65 and 69, block 54 on Highland Avenue. Request for a permit modification. I remember this came out a couple years ago, right?
Yes. For the record, Tom Linden, Linden Landscape Architects from Weathersfield, representing the town for Percival. Couple of years ago, it was in front of you. Plans were done to fix pieces of the field. That never happened. I believe it went out to bid. It wasn't within their budgets. Town canceled the project and rethought what they wanted. It's getting better.
It's just a town problem.
Obviously, you guys know this place, Percival baseball field, the pool. That's the soccer field. The proposal last time that got permitted was to rebuild portions of the field, do a little drainage work along the bottom of the slope down from the baseball field. And they were regrading this corner of the field and going outside of the fence and down the hill, which is your wetlands line, which you'll see in a second, wetlands and upland review line. So after a year, the town rethought what they were going to do, rework their funding and stuff, and said, if we're going to touch the field, let's just rebuild the entire field instead of trying to patch it and make it work. So we were hired in the spring, did some design studies, and came up with a plan to rebuild the entire soccer field. The difference between the permit that's in place now and the modification we're requesting is we're now staying inside the fence. So the grading on that plan went all the way down to almost touching the wetlands line.
Mhm.
So we're not going outside the fence anymore. Everything is staying inside the fence. That's the biggest difference between what's approved and the modification we're requesting. So the orange is your wetlands line, the green is the upland review area. Let me just make this easy. So we're gonna do a lot of work to the field to try to improve the soil and all that kind of stuff. And then sod the field. It's gonna be regraded so that it slopes better and works better. The original plan had an under drain along the toe of the slope that went to the outlet pipe that's existing there now, the dirt path that goes down past the pitching thing.
Oh, yeah.
So right now, there's from the property that I guess the housing authority owns now, there's a drainage ditch down to this corner of the field outside the fence that has a 24-inch pipe inlet. That pipe goes underneath the field and outlets to the stream on this side that goes into the wetlands that's up here. We're gonna do the same thing. I'd met with and talked with Jim a couple times about this project and how we were gonna handle it. The biggest problem with Percival is drainage in this corner. The soil's terrible and there's nowhere for that water to go. There's a tiny little swale that gets it back to where that pipe is. And there's an old riprap basin that catches the water coming down the hill. We had originally thought we were gonna be able to put a drain in this corner and be able to drain into that thing. Elevation wise, it doesn't work. Our pipe would be lower than the 24-inch pipe that's going underneath the field, which is the plan that you have in front of you. So the project actually was out to bid. And while we were out to bid, and I came in and talked to Jim about this idea of doing this, is putting a drain in that corner and tying it into the under drain. You don't typically put surface water into an under drain, but as I explained to Jim, the under drain is really kind of a belts and suspender thing. It's graded with a swale so that any water that comes off the baseball field wouldn't get onto the field. We figured we're doing all this work and it's a lot of money that we might as well put an under drain in just in case. The perforated pipe we're going to use is going to be sewer pipe that only has holes at 10 and 2 that you would put in for a septic system, and you'd put the holes at the bottom. Turn the pipe over and the holes will be in the top. So any water that gets into that trench drain will go into the top of the pipe. But any of the surface water that we put in with this basin will travel on the bottom of the pipe and out. And just so you can see what we're talking about doing. Very simple. We're just going to tie into the end of the pipe. We increase the size of the pipe that we had for the perforated under drain. You want one? So the parts of this that are under your purview is the upland review area. So it's this corner, this little bit, that drainage tying in, and this corner where the pipe, where that 24-inch pipe now outlets, we're crossing it with this pipe. All of that goes away. So none of that happens anymore. So that's the modification.
Joe, on the original plan, was there a walking from the senior center to this field?
That is still there.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I thought they were gonna do something to that though.
They actually, the commission permitted a small bridge over. the
Okay,
water
yeah,
course,
okay,
And that took place.
okay. All right, I knew there
Yeah,
was something.
from Marjorie Moore
Yeah,
over to here, yeah, there's a little wooden bridge across there, and there's a path that comes up right there, middle of,
Okay,
and the fence is open at that point. There is an alternate in this to continue that path around the outside.
okay.
Don't know if it's gonna make it, it's in their budget.
And I remember from years ago, when my kids played baseball, left field and center field, if it rained, you were ankle deep in water. Is that, did you guys do something to the baseball field? Was it?
Not touching the
No, that was
baseball.
2 years.
I'm saying it's definitely taken care of though, right? Okay, because I remember that was always, if it rained, your kids are standing.
Honestly-
You couldn't see the kid in right field if you were.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I don't know how that field drains. The number of times I've been out there, it doesn't look like it comes down our hill. I don't know where the water goes.
Like I said, I remember, I'm going back 20-something years ago. My kids were playing, you'd be out there, if it rained, kids come running in, their spikes would be soaking wet.
We had 25 contractors out there for the pre-bid meeting, and we walked across the soccer field, and we all just went squish, squish,
Oh.
squish. It was Friday the draining. But that's basically the modification. It's not much different than what's already approved. And it's less impact down the.
So what was
down the
approved
steep
was
hill.
this pipe that's now red X'd, and now you're gonna go directly into that underground pipe.
No,
Like, what are these-
what's red X is what we originally designed, which is what you have on the plans that are in front of you. And talking to Jim about it and figuring out.
That's what you're not doing.
That we're not.
Right,
Right, that's what you were
Right.
just saying, yeah.
Yes.
So technically, it's a change in the plan. You approved the search
Yep, I
plan
understand.
that was cited.
Now, if we don't have to wait 30 days for this, do we?
No,
We
it's a modification.
Yep.
You can take an action on it.
Now, is that drain in the field itself?
No,
Okay, so it's,
no, it'll be off the field surface. That line is the soccer.
oh, okay,
So it's back in the, it's in
Okay.
the corner.
so it's not gonna affect the play or anything like that?
No.
Any questions? Anything? If not, you have no problem, right, Jim? If not, I'd like to have a motion to approve modifications of application 21-03W.
Make a motion to approve application 21-03W.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Sorry you had to wait so long for that.
You can throw a couple of those.
I'm on TV, so I can't say what I want to say. I've been through a few of those in my time. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, as far as other business goes this evening, we have a number of pieces of correspondence. We have one application for treating the Norton Road Pond opposite McGee School. Something that if anyone's driven by there the past couple of years during the summer months, it's not what it used to be. The algae has just taken over, and it's a state-approved treatment of the water body. Along with that, you have information that we receive on an annual basis from Eversource in terms of the clearing, their clearing proposal along the main transmission lines and some of the collector lines within town, which they are permitted to do. They advise us as more of a courtesy every year. So we have that. We also received an additional application to treat a pond, which came in following the delivery of your packages. And we received this on an annual basis. The Shuttle Meadow Country Club treats one of the ponds they have on their property. That's been approved. And I believe last but not least, there's a package. Actually, did we handle that? We did. From Jim Mahoney, who's our Economic Development Director. Jim is handling the annual or the 10-year update of our plan of conservation and development of the town. Each board and commission has a specific responsibility in terms of their goals and objectives in that plan. Jim has put together and updated the plan from 10 years ago. So please take a look at that. If you have any comments, questions, either give me a call. If you want to let Jim Mahoney know about it, you can forward concerns to him. He's more than willing to come in and speak to us.
He did call me and wanted to know if there were any questions or anything like this, he'd be more than happy to come down and speak to the board. Jimmy, you got one other from the city of Meriden.
Oh, City Meriden, yes. That is a statutorily, whenever there's an activity within 500 feet of an abutting municipality, the municipality must notify the abutter. The city of Meriden is planning to do some work, some restoration type work in one of the ponds over Hubbard Park. And Peter and I were chatting about this today. And then when you think about Hubbard Park, you know, it's a mile and a half, 2 miles from the town boundary. But that parcel of land that they owned in Foods Park includes West Peak. And it's just a huge piece. So technically, the parcel of the town line.
Well, what I was going through, I'm thinking, where the hell is Crow Hollow Brook?
Yeah.
I never even heard of it.
That's gonna be the little tributary that comes off, you know, off West Peak and it probably
Really?
goes south. Yeah. It feeds, yeah. Yeah, it's not in Berlin.
Now, is this gonna have any bearing on, this is with Bill Jackson's? On what's going on in Weathersfield Road?
No, it should, no. Bill has stepped aside.
Yeah. But I mean, his information here, is there anything, I mean, I read it, I didn't see anything that was,
No,
that jumped out at me or anything like that.
and that's something we can certainly discuss.
Yeah.
During the year.
Not sure, was she?
Yeah, we should.
Oh, okay. Anything else?
Nothing that I have unless anybody has any questions.
Lisa, there was nobody on video, right? Okay. All right, if not, make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?